everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today I have Vishnu with us. Vishnu is one of the few people who have genuinely bridged the gap between sailing, software engineering, and product leadership. He started his career as a navigating officer in Merchant Navy and nearly spent a decade sailing. And during that course, he learned coding himself, not through a fancy degree, but through pure curiosity and discipline. Today, he works in Germany as a team lead product management for Oldendorf and has previously worked with Alpha Ori Technologies and DNV as well. Vishnu represents a powerful example for mariners that you don't need a tech background to build a successful career in software, especially in the developing field of maritime technology. You need curiosity, consistency, and courage to start. So, Vishnu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sachin.
So, before anything starts, it always goes back to why did you join Merchant Navy? How did Merchant Navy come into your life?
I think my story is going to be same like I can think of a lot of people who have the same story. It's all about money. Back then, right? It was 2010, and then I was looking at various career options. As I said, like I wanted to do something in IT, but then IT was at that point kind of going into the direction where it was not so impressive. And then looking at the other options, there was nothing much available, I would say. And then Merchant Navy came with attractive pay packages, quick, promotion and things. So I was like, okay, why not then give this the try? Because that was the priority back then. Yeah, so that's how I got into Merchant Navy. I didn't have anyone from my family or relatives or anyone in Merchant Navy, so I was the first from that point. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, the general story for most of the people that money attracts you at a young age, that's
Yes.
usually the case. But then, when did it hit you that, this is enough and I need to pursue my dream of getting back into IT? Was it on your first ship itself or as you progressed through your ranks? How did that happen then?
No, it was not on the first ship. Cadetship was fine. I really enjoyed cadetship, and then also the second mates exam and stuff together with the friends. It was all fun. But then when I started becoming a bit more serious about life, settling down, and that's when it hit like, oh, I can't keep continuing like this. I need to stabilize somewhere. I need to put my anchor down, and that's when it struck me that okay, maybe I need to think something outside of sailing career, and yeah, that was
Okay,
my.
so during this course, then did you start learning programming and getting into technology early from your cadetship days itself, or it was when you thought, I need to start looking into something else, and that is when you started looking into and learning technology?
I never stopped learning computer science actually. I took computer science for my 12th, and then I was madly in love with it. So I carried it with me during my sailing times as well. I was doing something maybe very minor, chief mate says, cadet ye leke aao, ye karo, and then you just go with the flow and then see, okay, this paperwork, let's do this in Excel, maybe some formula, like don't do it the boring way, just do it with some programming in it. It could be a simple Excel formula or a VBA script or Python script, That's how it was. It was here and there looking at some task on board, maybe port paper creation. So I never really did stop learning as such. It was there at a very minimal level, I would say. Nothing that I focus as now. Yeah, I kept in touch with it.
Okay, yeah, because I also, when I was in 11th and 12th, I had taken computer science, but that time we were taught C++, and it was a very, not a very good teacher I got because I was very much interested in, getting into IT as well. But then the teacher which I had, she brought down my interest to zero by the time I completed my 12th. Although I scored 97 in my 12th standard, but then the marks were just there. You could just get marks, but the interest slightly died down. And as you said, similarly, as I was also on board, I was looking into, a lot of things, how we can, let's say, one example I would give is that I had a chief officer. So he came from one sister ship to to the ship which I was on. And there was a draft calculation sheet and cargo calculation sheet which they had. So he said that, what, my last ship, the sheet was so good, and this ship, there is nothing. I cannot relate to it. How do I do it? I said, sir, don't worry. Just give me the sheet. I'll see how it is. Then I took the sheet, changed all the parameters and everything, and within 1 week the chief officer started liking me so much that it, because learning, I
Yeah,
think little all these excel and everything makes your life so much easy on board the ships,
yeah,
that it makes it much easier, and especially for
yeah.
the operations, and everyone starts liking you as well. You become the go-to tech guy.
Exactly. You're the tech guy on board.
Yeah. Especially now with most of the companies, the second officer or the ETO is the IT guy, because with the cybersecurity is coming in. So that also helps you, I think, if you do.
Yeah,
But then, how did you manage, because when you are sailing on board, and especially let's say if you're sailing on a bulk carrier, most of the people, spend time watching movies, and, maybe have some drinks when they are or during off watch. So how did you, motivate yourself, keep, to continue learning coding? Or were you doing it when you were on your vacation? How did you manage with your job then?
yeah, yeah. But while on board, as I said, it was bare minimal, like day to day. If there is something that I could help with for my own work, or if chief mate or captain, chief engineer, whoever, like as you said, the tech guy on board, they
Yeah.
will come to me, something to do with the computer. So that was like bare minimal. But then when I was on vacation, that was the time I used to kind of get myself updated. So it was my recharge time and also update time back home. I used to take some courses, something in YouTube, look into a topic, see, for example, a framework is out, a web framework or a mobile app framework. It is what is the architecture and
Yeah.
things like that. So I used to do this while I was ashore, not full time, but from time to time. And also, cybersecurity was a very interesting topic for me. So that was something I was really hooked on to. I would sit for hours looking into the topics, case studies, and things like that. So most of the topics, whatever I did while I was on vacation.
Okay, then could you just tell us something about your early projects which you made while you were like the CII calculator or your route
Mhm,
optimization or whatever? You can just elaborate what it
mhm,
was, how you started off,
mhm.
and the thought came in.
Yeah. So as I said, like I always picked up on a topic, an open source topic. It could be on a web app development or a language, programming language, or a framework or an algorithm, something like this, which interests me. And then I always try to see how this would benefit maritime, for instance, or what was the paper that was released in maritime on technology, not just maritime, but something maritime and technology related. And then I would go through it and then find what is the top hot topics, like in maritime. Currently, back then it was CAI, it was introduced, the calculation for the vessels and things. I thought, okay, maybe we build a let's search in internet what's available. I saw many Excels were available. I just converted the Excel to an Svelte app and then released it. It was just plain fun. I could learn Svelte. I was just coming out of React at that point. I was like, Svelte is good, really good. I wanted to go away from these various distribution packages to one or two, and that time it was Svelte, and then I was like, okay, let me do it in Svelte. I took one of the reference Excels for CAI calculation, and then started coding with it, and then put it online. So I also host my projects myself, or sometimes in Vercel, it's free. I think 4 or 5 projects, but yeah. So it's
Okay.
just that I then developed it, hosted it. So while learning, learn something outside of maritime, and then I always try to bring it back to maritime context.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that, because that sounds, and it is very important as well with the digitization happening, that someone can bridge the gap between the maritime sector and the technology space as well. So looking from there, then how did you land your first shore-based tech role?
I should say it was mostly luck. And I think the person who recruited me saw me for who I was. And when I got recruited, he said, Vishnu, you know why I recruited you? Because none of the other candidates had sent a CV like you had. Yours was a digital link, and your entire CV was a web page.
Yeah.
I have never seen this from other candidates. So that's how I stood out. Like my
Okay.
entire A portfolio is a web page. It was developed in Hugo, another static site generator. But then this is what stood out. So I should say that, okay, maybe that and a bit of luck, because it's not easy for a navigating officer to get a job in this ERP
Yeah,
segment, because they generally prefer marine engineers
yeah,
to nautical science. But
yeah.
things are
That,
changing.
I guess, very slowly. Still, they
Yes.
prefer most of them to be marine engineers. But
Yeah.
then, so what helped you most, let's say, first of all, let's break down what kind of tech roles are today available, because most
Mm,
of the people would not know what a business analyst is, what a
mm,
product manager is, what a product owner is, or what
mhm,
other roles are there, especially in the maritime context. So let's say
mhm,
if I am a second officer or a third
mm.
officer or a chief officer who, like you, can understand the technology side, has known how to code. I'm sure for those people, they must be searching all those roles. But for someone who does not know what kind of roles they can get in the maritime industry, if you could just elaborate on it.
Yeah, sure. So I chose the product path. This is very clear from my track so far that I chose the product path, but there are also other paths. So I can start from the entry point on this. So it would be for a marina, it would be normally as a business analyst or a product owner. This would be the general starting point. Since coming from nautical science background, when going for a ERP solution, QHSE module, crewing modules. So all these softwares are in the end modules. Crewing, QHSE, procurement, maintenance, these are all modules. Then document management, maybe it is under something, and then analytics and things like that. So for a person from nautical science, crewing and QHSE are high probability to get into, because they fit perfectly well in that role. They know that, okay, what is QHSE? This is something we have been doing in and out during our time on board. Similar is crewing, we have been doing payroll on board and
Yeah.
things like that. We know all of this, and this is a good entry point. And some places, some companies, the starting position is as a business analyst. This is how I got in, as a business
Okay.
analyst. And in some other places, you could also join as an SME, subject matter expert. Yeah. This is also an entry point. Then, if you choose to be in the product side, you could go on to becoming a product owner. So, being a product owner, you will own the development for that particular module, let's say a QHSE or a crewing module, and then it becomes multiple module management. Then you become a product manager. Then above is either the team lead or head of product, and then VP product, chief product officer. That's kind of like the three letter you end up
Yeah.
in the product career. Um,
Okay.
being on the SME side, you could also go to becoming customer success manager, business development manager, and also from time to time, yeah, partially as a consultant role, etc. So this is also another path within the technology segment. Um, yeah, I would see these are the two tracks apart from the pure engineering side. Like you get into as a data engineer or software engineer. This is also possible, but it's not, I would say it's not that easy
Yeah.
to maintain in that track, because we, and also for me, I personally, I think that we would also waste our talents if we went doing pure software engineering, because we have a lot of domain knowledge which then goes wasted when we are looking purely on the engineering part.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because I think right now, what I see is that the industry needs people who can
Mhm.
understand the, like, they, you can find a person who can code. It's, they might be in abundance, but a person who can understand the technology side, plus he knows good amount of what happens on board a ship, how things are going to be run. That is, I think, more important, especially in the maritime segment. This is what I
Mhm.
have been seeing, that people, especially the coders and everything, they don't know what product are they making, in what direction, why is this direction being chosen. They don't
Yeah.
have an understanding of that. Whereas a mariner who is going to be there, he would know, okay, so this is the pain point which we are trying to solve. And from my experience, this is also a good to have feature, something. rather than someone who has never stepped foot on board, and they coming up with new ideas. You know what? This will make the life of people on board very easy. How would you
Mhm.
know? That's
Yeah.
that's one thing. But then let's say, because whenever people are looking into transition, there comes in a lot of, when I was also looking to transition, I was thinking of doing courses from Coursera, like a product manager course. There are product management courses, then also these ones, business analyst or data analyst or data engineer, these kind of courses. So how much value do these courses actually holds in the maritime segment? So let's say someone who comes to you, you are recruiting someone for a role, and you see, okay, he's a mariner and he has done this course from Coursera. So how much value are you going to put in? Because is it actually relevant for people to do these courses, or what can be done so that they have some certification in the right direction for maritime industry?
Yeah, these courses are important, in short. Yeah, and I place a very high value for these courses and the knowledge they obtain from it. I did few courses from Udemy. I didn't do it from Coursera. I did it from Udemy. And then later on during my career with the DNV, I had the chance to do in-depth product management course with the product school. So these I really appreciate and also consider them very important in setting our mind in the right track or
Okay.
thinking the product way. This is needed. Even though we know the domain, we know the software engineering side, how things are happening, it's very important to have this product thinking. Every requirement, every feature, how to prioritize, how to ensure that we have thought through for the future of the product's life cycle. These are some things that we don't have experience as a
Yeah.
mariner.
Yeah.
This is something we should definitely learn from these courses, and the ones in Udemy were really helpful when I started off with business analyst. At that point, I had no clue like what I'm doing. I just knew that okay, I have been given this task to help build maintenance module. This is what I knew. So I used my domain knowledge a lot back then and also bit of my software engineering. But then more than that, in order to make clear roadmaps, presentations to different stakeholders and things like that, this course has helped a lot.
Okay.
We know what to address to whom at
Yeah.
what point.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because that is one thing which most of my friends ask, or practically many are even confused, like what course should be right or what should we do? Because everyone, and they end up doing some course which is of no value to them. Maybe
Mm.
they want to get into technology, but they are doing MSc in shipping operations, and that makes it of no use for them. So I think then the modular courses would be better to do in such direction. So then let's look into one thing that most of the mariners are very much interested in today, is how they can move abroad, because you started your career in India, and after that you spent some time in India, and then you moved to Germany. So how did that transition happen? And first let's talk about how did that transition happen.
Yeah, to be frank, it was very surprising for me. Like I was giving my interview and then I thought it was a job in India because I know DNV had like lots of offices in
Yeah.
India
Yeah.
also. So I didn't really know that it was a job for Germany or I had to move to Germany. And on the second round, they mentioned that, okay, then it's time to speak about the location and packages and things like that. And then I was like, yeah, okay. And then they were like, yeah, you need to move to Rostock, and this is where the job is in Germany. I was like, ah, okay, maybe I missed that part or somehow it slipped my mind. Then, yeah, it was surprising, but as well exciting at that point. In the end, moving to Germany or in Europe, I think in general, it's always a bit easier if you come in this blue card category.
Yes.
You don't need you're exempted from the language
Yeah.
restrictions.
Yes. Yeah. So you know what? Because most of the seafarers, they some way or the other, they message me asking me how they can move abroad. From your example, it makes it very easy, and I also tell them that it happened very gradually. I started in
Mhm.
India, and opportunity came up, applied to it, and it happened. But
Mhm.
then, so do you think it is easier once you start working in India and then start applying to jobs abroad with some experience, or you don't need any experience, you can just start applying to the jobs?
There are two ways. One is you come abroad do your education over here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then start as an intern or do internship during
Yeah.
your education time, and then
Yeah.
set your baseline over there, see how it goes, and then maybe they like you the way how you did your work, and then they issue an offer letter. Yeah, this is one way. So coming abroad for studies and then finding a job. I think that's the most common way how people come into maritime industry over here. But then the other way is, of course, that you do a job in India, and then if an opportunity opens up somewhere abroad, then try your luck. I think there are always one or the other opportunity coming up, especially that now maritime industry is no longer shy and shy to move on to digitization.
Yeah.
There are opportunities in the maritime segment.
And moving on from there, I have another question which most of the seafarers think of is, and do you think when moving into the technology space, your rank would matter? Like you were a second mate, so you are limited to only these kind of rules. You were a master mariner, so you can reach higher and you will get these kind of rules. Does the rank really matter once you come into the pure technology space?
Answer is no.
Yeah,
Doesn't
because
matter.
yeah, because most of the seafarers, well, like if you look traditionally in the maritime domains jobs, if you were a master mariner, then your horizon is little different. If you are young, you are a master mariner, your horizon looks much wide and you have a lot of places to go. But in the other, if you were second mate or third mate or even a chief mate who left early, things are little tough for you, especially in India, to grow and build a career. But I think with technology, it has changed where you can still look into, and only technology is the space I believe where this could be true.
Mhm. Yeah, because we are not purely domain driven, right? That's the
Yes.
main difference. In technology, you're not purely domain driven. Yes, knowledge of domain is important, but it is
Yes.
not that your experience of X years as a specific rank is what matters. In the end, you know the domain, you can understand the lingo, you can translate it to digital natives. This is all that matters. You are the bridge between maritime and pure software engineering. So
Yes.
if you're able to do this, if you're being flexible, adapting to the changing regulations, you keep yourself up to date on the maritime segment as well as on the other side, I think you are still relevant.
Okay. And as we have discussed that certifications would be good enough to get. So with the evolving industry, do you see any work happening in the AI segment for maritime? And should a mariner look into getting certifications in AI as well? Will it help in the long term for us to build something in AI? Or is this very less in demand right now?
My personal take on this is getting a certificate is pure
Yeah.
private reason.
Yes.
It has not helped me do anything in AI. I can
Yeah.
say that I have a couple of machine learning course certifications, deep learning, but it has not really helped me in that direction at all. So from my experience, I can say that having a certification is good because once the task comes to you that okay, now we have to look into incorporating AI into the product, you know what exactly would happen. You can give the specifications for it. But apart from that, just with the certificate, high chances of landing a job might not be the actual picture.
I think that setting the expectations right would be the most important thing, that if you do a certification does not guarantee you a job, you need to keep looking and keep on getting the opportunities. So let's say if there is a second mate who comes to you, or a third mate even, says, sir, I want to transition to maritime technology. What would be your advice to him that, okay, you know what, you follow this roadmap and you should be good enough for the next 5 years?
Yeah, a difficult question. I have often been also subject to
Yes.
these questions over
Yes.
LinkedIn. So
Yes.
always what I say is that keep yourself updated on what's happening in the technology sphere in maritime. Yeah, stay up to date on which segment is progressing well. Sometimes it's not sometimes. Currently, if you see, it's always about fuel efficiency and ship routing and that part of the industry, right, which is having high interest. At the same time, also AI segment, as you said, is coming up. quite good. So do some courses, look for some entry level jobs, because I'm pretty sure senior level jobs, they always say that some experience in technology as well is needed. So look for entry level jobs. I know it's very difficult when you look at it like, okay, we were earning so much as third mate and second mate, and then you go to a shore job and it's not even paying one third of what we were earning. It's a difficult transition, but be persistent on it, and definitely you can find a place from the roots in maritime technology and grow over there. So stay up to date on what is the most trending topics in the maritime technology. Keep yourself updated on such topics so that it becomes easier for you to attend the interview. You can show what you have learned so far from the work experience, plus on the technology side, how you see things progressing.
And because most of the people, they generally have two tendencies: is the money, the biggest stopping factor, that money is going to be very difficult to manage after some time, and they see the salaries which most of the entry level jobs have. If the requirement says second mate or third mate, it would be in the range bracket of 10 to 15 lakhs depending on what company, what organization, and what kind of role it is. But that would be the general trend where they follow in. So I think that is where people need to make up their mind that if you spend some time as well in these industries and keep on building yourself, then you will definitely see a better career ahead. Yeah. And so moving on from there, let's say, do you think there are any three top tech skills which mariners should look out into to, have for the next 5 to 10 years, which are going to be very solid for them? Because marine industry is little behind in the maritime space right now. So I think there can be some skills which they can still keep for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, maybe there a slight correction. Maritime industry was behind
Yeah.
in the technology sphere, but now it is no longer. Yeah, they are
Okay.
keeping up. There are lots and lots of startup who are coming up with really innovative ideas,
Yeah.
incorporating cutting edge technologies to deliver value to the industry. So this is quite good. What I would say is focus on the basics. You don't need to know a lot of different programming languages or anything. Pick whichever is easier for you, whichever you like or you are familiar with. Understand it thoroughly, how and what things happen. Maybe take a look into a couple of frameworks out there, web and mobile app, because most of the applications are either going to be a web application or a mobile application. So you know what is possible, what is not possible at a very high level. It also helps you think during the solutioning phase, when there is a problem, when you have to come up with a solution, you're not going to build it because you're not qualified enough to build that with the current one. So there is a team of excellent software developers out there. But then when we have to translate this requirement, we need to know exactly how to communicate it with them to reach their level. And this is what I would say that what would help. Like, so one programming language, try to master it as much as possible. Frameworks, or one framework, two framework, and then maybe understand how certain products work in maritime. Do a deep dive into it. Nowadays, I think it's very easy to do a deep dive into a product with AI. There are
Yeah.
so many material available. You can do a deep dive into understanding how a product functions, and this would help you also formulate the solution phase
Yeah.
for the requirement. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I think this and being persistent is very important because it's not a one-time thing.
Yes.
You have to continue and be on it.
Yes. So let's go from here to what most seafarers think is that once you are stepping ashore, their expectations might be very different from a shore job, and I'm sure you would also have set some expectations which were there. So were there any misconceptions which you had about a shore life which got busted as you started working ashore?
While I was on board, I was thinking of going ashore, as I said earlier,
Yeah.
and all the times, people would come up to me and then say, "No, you know what happened? That Batisa went ashore, and then in the end, he came back on board. Business kuch acha nahi gaya." So it used to be always like, okay, somebody is tried to do something on shore and then it flopped. We mariners are not good to switch over to shore jobs. So it used to be such a negative thing while I was
Yeah.
on board and discussing with the peers on board. But that's not entirely true. So if you go to a shore job, it's not like you are entering some segment which is hostile. That's not the case.
Yeah.
It's a different segment. So on board the vessel, it's just 20 people, 22 people, and it's a family, a close-knit family. In corporate world, maybe you are entering a space with 100 people. It's not like so close-knit as with all 100, but you will find your buddy over there and maybe buddies, and then you will also have a good time. It
Yeah.
need not be that always it's all good, but you will find your balance eventually.
Yeah.
It's different from maritime. It is not like you did your watch, go to take rest and things like that. It's not like that, especially if you're working in technology or a service segment. You might be contacted from time to time, depending upon what your role is. But then you are with your family, so you need to
Yeah.
set your priorities over there.
Yes, true, true. Because and most of the seafarers think that people don't work that much ashore, or it's just fun happening ashore. There's also a
Yeah,
lot of misconception which people have, and
yeah,
so let's touch into one thing that most seafarers dwell upon is that family life when moving to ashore. How much family time you give, because an argument which is kept is, what, I'm staying on board for 6 months, and then it is up to me for how many days I want to stay
mm,
ashore, and I can give 24 hours of the day to my family. And when you are working ashore, you have 5 days you are working, and then Saturday, Sunday, what all you can do in those 2 days. So it's not a good way of having or living life. I think the seafaring life is good, and many people are stuck in between these two things. So do you have any
mm.
advice for people who think like this?
Yeah, it's for me, it was very simple, right? The 6 months I'm away from my kid,
Yeah.
and I miss him growing up. And when I'm working ashore, doesn't matter. Maybe I'm coming home back at 6 or 7. Back after that, I can be with him. I can be with my family, and that 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever was possible is good enough for me because I am with them live and not via video call,
Yeah.
which is a big difference for me. And that 6 months when we say we are over here at home and 6 months away, that equation is not correct. It's not apple to apple
Yeah.
comparison. There's a lot of difference. Like you can be at time when they need you. And this 6 months when you're not there, even if it is that need is only 1 or 2 days, you could be there with the shore
Yeah.
job. And that
True.
has a big difference.
Yeah, that's true, because that's what most people don't think. And even for the vacations, if we count in for all the weekends and everything and all the public holidays in India, then the vacation turns out to be more than 3 to 4 months in a year,
Mhm.
which is good enough for people working ashore. It gives you a good refresh.
Yeah.
And during your sailing transition, do you think there was some key factors which key skills which you learned on board, and they really helped you, in succeeding ashore?
Yeah. I think all our courseworks, right? Like when we did, even for nautical science, the marine engineering coursework and navigation, these all played its part while transitioning. Even the practical experience. I can say from my job, what I did as product manager for Navigator Port, a lot of it, like from my second mate, chief mate time, like port paper creation. Yes, this is day in, day out what we did from the
Yeah.
deck side, right? Navigator port was tailored for this
Yeah.
specific area. And it was really like trying to do what I used to do on board, but in a better way. So I knew exactly like there is no standardization in port forms. Every
Yeah.
port has different types of forms, formats. Maybe it's the same IMO file form, but every port would have slightly adjusted it. So then coming up with a plan on how to streamline this and how to make the product better was comparatively easier, I would say. And that gives you an edge over others who have no understanding of how this port clearance works.
True.
So
Yeah.
skills, everything what we do on board at some point in the product life, it would come.
Yeah, true. And also, I've used a navigator port. It was a
Yeah.
requirement to have in our company. So
Ah,
it used to help us a lot because a lot of times you can just get the port information and everything directly from Navigator
yeah,
port. It came in very handy to get
yeah.
a brief glance of where we are going. And from there, do you think, like, because many of the seafarers, they, whenever they contact me, they always ask me, you know what, please give me some guidance or please help me out. But do you think there is a right way of approaching people, or how people can, get connected to the right people when transition, thinking of transitioning ashore?
Oftentimes I'm just I mean, they connect to me over LinkedIn
Yeah.
and then shoot the same question. So I don't see if there is a right way. It is just that, yeah, you could look up people in LinkedIn in the area where you dream of going to be,
Yeah.
you know, where you think that, okay, this looks like something I would like to do in the future, or maybe something like, I don't know if this is right for me. This is also a good question. And then you can ask this person, how is this work? How do you think it would be in the future, like 5 years in this career path? What would be my future, or where can I look it up? Yeah, this is a very common question. Where can I look it up? Plus, I think these days a lot of these questions are also answerable by AI
ChatGPT.
because, yeah, ChatGPT can answer this fantastically. But when you want to have a very personal touch and experience from one, you can always look them up. Maybe it's not always technology. Some people like to go on the chartering side, operation
Yeah.
side, even legal, so there are so many people I know who have transitioned from on board to such shoreside jobs. So it's always that you can search for a particular profile. Maybe you will find someone who is also willing to share the experience with you.
Yes. And having said so, do you think LinkedIn is a very important tool for seafarers to have today? And if yes, how can LinkedIn help them, in getting their jobs which they are seeking in a way? How important is it given? Because let's say I'm sure you would have carried out some or the other interviews for many of your candidates you have been working with. So how does LinkedIn play a role in the hiring process as well?
LinkedIn is a very important role. I found my job through LinkedIn. Did I check the box? I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I found my job through LinkedIn. I follow shipping companies, their activities, product companies in maritime segment, what they are doing. Yeah, so this is very important to keep ourselves up to date and also connect to people, like in different segment, what they are doing. Maybe they are giving a talk on a topic that you really like. You can connect with them, grow your network, maybe get exposed to also the topic that you like and see who else is interested in it. This way LinkedIn is very important, but at the same time you should also follow the companies with their own web pages, because not all at times post their career options in LinkedIn. So it's good to always also keep track of the companies through their website career pages. Both of these helps if
Yeah.
it's from a career point of view. Otherwise, I would say LinkedIn, and to gather more information, Smart Maritime Network and others are doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
Okay. And just to, there is no right answer for this, but any five or any few shipping maritime tech companies do you think are a good starting point for any mariner who is looking into transitioning?
I don't have specific names, but I all I can say is maybe go for startups.
Okay.
You learn a lot in startup. This
Okay.
is my experience as well. Like I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot from Alpha because you do a lot of things. You are not in like a corporate structure where everything is predefined. You go this track and you follow this. This is not how it is. When you're in a startup, you get your hands dirty on multiple things. You
Mm-hmm.
learn how this is, how that is, how this interdepartment communication works. You try to be flexible because you're also starting your career. This helps you understand a lot of things that is happening within the company, how it should be. And maybe when you transition out to a corporate or a non-startup phase companies, you will understand that. So what I was doing in startup is now currently done by different departments or
Yeah.
different segments, so that you will always make that experience.
Okay.
So to start, I would always recommend maybe go for a startup. It will always deliver good experience. Difficult, but it's good experience.
Okay, that's really what most people should look into. And also, we'll touch upon something which is very important is life abroad for a seafarer. So, how do you think the opportunities are for seafarers typically abroad? Because most of us, whenever we go to a foreign port, we think, oh, there are so many seafarers working here, or maybe we find some or the other person who is from the same nationality, and we think, oh, he's also working here in some or the other form. I think maybe this could be a good opportunity to work in. But from your experience now, and since you have worked in so many different organizations and living in Europe, how do you think the opportunities are scaling for mariners, especially in these countries?
There are opportunities, especially when you look at the maritime segment as a whole. There are quite a lot of opportunities. There are opportunities to become operators, charterers, legal side, even one of my friend from onboard has been doing an internship in IMO. So it's just, and also even insurance, maritime insurance. So lot of opportunities are there if you keep your mind open, or if you are unsure where to go, then there are lots and lots of opportunities. But at the same time, if you're very focused on a particular segment, this also helps, because then you don't look at 500 job openings, but you look at maybe 10. Yeah, and you also know while following this thread, which company, how they are doing. You could also get, as previously said, connect to someone who is working over there, learn from their experience, like how it is to be there. Maybe then you decide, okay, I don't want to go into this segment. This is not what I was thinking about on that. So, yeah, I would say there is a decent amount of opportunities available in Europe for the maritime segment.
And is there any myth or truths about living in Europe you would want to tell the mariners that be prepared for this when you are thinking of moving here?
Be prepared to face the cold. That's, and also the language barriers.
Yeah.
So this is two things that I have seen as a
Okay.
hurdle. You miss home, right? This is going to happen at some point. There are things back home which you won't be feeling the same about after you move over here. But
Yeah.
I believe that's life.
Yeah. You get something and something is
The-
missed.
Yes.
Yes. But and then is there any one message you would like to give to any seafarer who feels stuck on board right now? Because when they are on the bridge, 4 hours of watch, no traffic, nothing, then their mind starts running. I'll sign off and I'll start doing something else. I don't know what to do, but I'm feeling stuck here. So, what advice would you like to give to them?
Yeah. Um, to them, the only advice is that be persistent. Don't lose hope
Okay.
on the target that you have. Set your course, keep steering, you will reach there. Yeah, this is what I have to say. And also on the opportunity side, maybe I overpromised. It's like a sine wave,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes the market is having a lot of openings, sometimes the
Yeah.
market is having no openings.
Yes.
So if you happen to be in the market during the lower phase, and keep your focus on, because there is always going to be the next phase where a
Yeah.
lot of openings are going to come up. So
Yeah.
be persistent and yeah,
And
go on.
as you had mentioned that earlier as well, that most of the notion goes on board is that don't there's someone who did move ashore, their things didn't work out well and they came back on board. So what mistake should someone avoid doing so that they don't have to come back on board? What would be your
Mm.
tips to tell that, okay, you know what, if you do these things, then likelihood of you getting back on board would be very little.
Don't be desperate. This is what I can say in a short way. Don't be desperate to do something ashore, because that something might not be what you wanted to do. But then
Yeah.
you found, okay, this is something I can do ashore, and that's something maybe where you are not qualified, or you didn't think through properly on how it would end up, like how it would go. And this is when people often have burned all their savings and then feel that now it's time to get back on board. So I would say, please don't be desperate. Have a steady course, and then, as I said, like all these points before, try to put your focus on things that matters. Maybe like if you want to go into a particular line of Maritime, focus more on gaining knowledge in that, do these things every time, apply for the job opportunities that you see, but do not be desperate and commit to something that you were not prepared for.
Yeah, very true. Very, very well put. And I think looking at this, and anyone who hears this session should be able to understand that there is opportunity available in the technology segment as well, and it is growing rapidly right now. It is the right time to switch into the technology space. I cannot promise if that would be same after 5 years, because most of the people would have come and opportunities might go down. If you are listening to this right now, then it would be the right time to move here, I think. And really, really appreciate Vishnu for doing this, especially on a Saturday weekend. And yes, really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Sachin, for this opportunity. I think it's also that what I have mentioned in bits and pieces to different people, I think it's a good forum, what you have put here. A lot of seafarers who have no clue or who are in a dilemma. I hope this helps. It's not very starry promise that things are going to be perfect very fast, but it is more like please continue where you want to go, and definitely universe will work miracles for you. So
Yes, definitely. Because the whole reason I wanted to start something like this was that when I moved ashore, a lot of people would message me that, because whenever I would post that, okay, I have joined this or I changed my role within the company, I would be flooded with a lot of messages. And after every few weeks, there would be someone who would be messaging me, I want to move ashore, help me out, or tell me something. And I would try to help them out because I was in the same position few years back. But then the questions would get very repetitive. So I thought it's better that if I try to curate a place where people from different segments of the industry have transitioned and can put in their experience, how they can move in. And whenever someone comes to them, just send them the link of the podcast. And then once tell them that, okay, you have listened to this podcast. After this, if you have some other questions which are very specific, you feel, then you can always come and reach out to me rather than answering the generic questions.
yeah, true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Once again, thank you, Vishnu. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, and have a nice weekend.